Explain the process of relative timing. How might practitioner use this concept to determine difference between a class of movements? How might the relative timing structure of the dart differ from that of footing shot? Hint, think of differences in terms of the relative speed of the wrist, lower arm, and upper arm in two movements. Relative timing is a measure of temporal structure of a movement in which the ratios among the duration of various movement features are used to define the temporal pattern. In comparing two movements, let's say that first movement is performed in a short movement time than the movement 2. The movement produced of movement 1 and 2 in different overall movement times, we can conclude that the relative timing of the movement is invariant or unchangeable. Kahit bumilis or bumagal, invariant siya kasi yung movement is hindi nagbago. The deep temporal structure of the two movement remains the same because all parts of the actions are either slowed down or speeded up. And using the concept of relative timing may determine madedetermine natin kung yung different classes of movement dahil madedetermine din natin yung parameters na ginamit sa movement. Halimbawa, kung bumilis yung movement, kung gaano katagal yung movement duration. And in case of dart, the speed of wrist, lower arm, and upper arm, kapag shot tayo ng dart, ang ginagamit natin is our wrist, lower arm, and upper arm. So, kapag mabilis yung movement ng isa, sa tatlo na yon, magiging mabilis na rin yung movement ng dalawa. Let's say yung wrist. Kapag mabilis yung movement niya, ang mangyayari, magiging mabilis na rin yung movement ng lower arm and upper arm. What do movement scientists mean when they say that relative timing is an invariant feature of the generalized motor program? What implication does this have for performers who practice their movement at different speeds? Example is dancers, jugglers, rhythmic gymnasts, and drummers. They discovered is that deals with the temporal or timing structure of movement patterns. The invariant is termed as relative timing. Generalized motor program theory is an explanation of how people control and coordinated movement. Lahat ng ginagawa natin bago or luma is nare-retain sa utak natin. Kaya nga may tinatawag tayong muscle memory. Kung titignan din natin ang isang movement, it remains the same or invariant. Kahit na magbago yung speed, bumilis or bumagal, pero yung structural pattern niya hindi nagbabago. One of the most important principles of movement control is that relative timing remains essentially the same or invariant whenever performers change the speed as the performers who practice the movement at different speed. Let's say for example, yung mananayaw, kahit bumilis yung rhythm ng tugtog, bibilis din yung magiging movement niya. So, nagiging invariant siya. Under what conditions are performers' movements more spatially accurate as the person decrease his or her movement time? What implications might this have for an elementary physical education instructor who is teaching children on how to throw or kick a ball towards a target? So, the condition is speed accuracy trade-off. The tendency of individual to substitute accuracy for speed. Ano nga ba yung implication nito sa PE teacher na magtuturo sa elementary student niya kung paano sumipa or mag-throw ng bola towards the target? Since ikaw yung teacher, alam mo na kung paano yung tamang pag-throw or tamang pag-kick ng bola sa target. Kahit gaano pa kabilis yung movement. So, as a teacher, you will substitute accuracy over speed on how to kick or throw the ball sa target. Kasi ituturo mo to sa estudyante mo. Paano ba matututunan ng estudyante? Syempre, ituturo mo siya step by step. lalo na't elementary student. In that way, matututunan nila yung tamang way on how to kick or throw a ball sa target. And at the end, they will be the one to practice the movement speed with accuracy. Explain how an error in a low-level central nervous system process might cause a player throwing darts to miss the target area she is aiming for. We all know that throwing a dart is a rapid movement. Nagkakaroon ng error sa low level of central nervous system caused by relatively noisy or inconsistency. Even when a performer attempts to produce the same force over and over successful trials, the individual exhibit considerable inconsistency in the movement outcomes. Kahit pa gano'n natin pinapractice, magkakaroon ng inconsistency because of noisy or yung tinatawag natin na inconsistency sa movement. Hindi naman natin yun maiiwasan. And this process are responsible for converting nerve impulse into motor unit, activation of muscles, and exertion of force on bones through tendons. Dahil nga sa noisy or sa tinatawag nating inconsistency, which are the factors that affect the performance of the performer. One example of an error is in the central nervous system kapag kinakabahan tayo. Lahat ng movement natin, ng techniques, ng strategies, ng method is hindi lahat nasusunod kahit na i-practice natin ng i-practice dahil most of the time, ito yung kalaban natin, which is the inconsistency. Nagkakaroon tayo ng kaba, so nagiging tense yung muscle natin, nagkakaroon ng contraction, which is not intended by the system.